Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar session. I'm excited to walk you through a new innovation that's already transforming how Medicare agents, managers, and executives are preparing for AEP. I'm happy to introduce you to ConnectureDRX's Active Analytics Platform. My name is Joshua Smith. I'm the Senior Director of Carrier Relations here at Connecture, and I'm thrilled to interview our product expert, Aaron Davis.
Thanks, Josh. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining. So let's start at the top, shall we? What is Active Analytics and what makes it unique to the market?
Great question, Josh. So Active Analytics is a standalone intelligence tool that can work with any Medicare shopping or enrollment platform. And what it really does at its core is help agents identify exactly which members are going to be impacted by Medicare industry disruptions or changes that are coming for this AEP. So for a couple examples, think drug formulary changes, plan discontinuations, outdated eligibility information, price increases, maximum out-of-pocket increases. Active Analytics is really the intelligence tool to raise all that information up for agents, make sure that they have a really efficient AEP season, not having to spend all this time doing research or confuse members that are being affected by those Medicare industry disruptions.
That's incredible. So it's like having a spotlight in Dart, allowing an agent to see specifically who in their book of business might need some extra help for AEP.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the great thing about it is it's powered by both ConnectureDRX's data, really best in class and wide-reaching data on the Medicare industry overall, but it's also powered by your own book of business members, the member profiles that you have and are working in every single day. That's what really makes it so precise and so accurate, making sure that it is really tailor-made for your given book of business.
Hey, that's awesome. So can you tell us though, how does Active Analytics actually drive action?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that users will see is a list of issues. And within Active Analytics, we call these issues audiences of members that are going to have an impact in a certain area of Medicare disruptions. So you can see kind of examples here on screen, but everything from formulary changes to discontinued plans, cost increases, and the list goes on and on. But you can really see how many of your members are affected by each one of these issues, essentially how many members fall into each given audience. Then it allows you to act immediately with clarity and purpose, really. You're casting a wide net of your book of business overall, but then it really lets you hone in on who is going to be affected. So casting a wide net, but ultimately letting you know where the fish are, right? And so what we're really doing at Connecture is combining our own powerful data with your book of business and overall for organizations and organizations information. From the Connecture side, that's information on drugs, plans, eligibility, pharmacy, pricing, to really identify specific issues that members may be facing. These issues or audiences might include formulary changes, plan discontinuations, rising costs, as I said, and for each issue, the platform shows you exactly how many members are affected. To support outreach, we also store recommended communication strategies that are tailored to each of those audiences. So it really helps agents communicate clearly and effectively, and it really supercharges a lot of that communication because Active Analytics can also connect to existing communications tools, such as a CRM or a communications platform. So we're not only providing all of that data and all of that insight, but we're giving our users and the organizations that use Active Analytics really clear ways to take action on the information they're seeing on screen.
Awesome. That's so powerful and going to give so much additional clarity to the agents that are using this. Let's pivot in and let's talk a little bit more about outcomes though. Can you tell us a little bit more why it's so important to know who specifically is at risk?
Yeah, absolutely. I think simply said, when agents know who is at risk and more importantly, why, they can act with confidence and be more effective at engaging those members. Active Analytics is really good at transforming what can feel like very scattered and very disjointed data into clear, actionable insight. So by pinpointing exactly how members are going to be affected by each of those changes, whether it's a formulary change or a discontinued plan, it eliminates the guesswork and allows agents to focus on outreach where it matters most. The rest, I mean, a lot of this hinges on just agents being at ease and being more confident in knowing how their members are going to be affected so that they can know that they're on track for driving strong outcomes during AEP.
And then how about agency leaders or health plan leadership? How would they be able to engage with the Active Analytics platform?
Great question. In short, leaders finally have visibility across their teams of the folks who are on the front lines of engaging with members and letting them know how their coverage and their costs might be changed or affected. They can track engagement, they can identify where outreach is lagging, and they can know that their agents are in a position to know that no member is going to fall through the cracks. For captive agents, it's really powerful leverage to direct support where it's needed most.
Awesome. But one of the most important groups that we haven't talked about yet to consider is really the members. How does Active Analytics help the actual membership that are being enrolled into these plans?
Yeah, I think it's the most important piece of the puzzle. I always like to think about what it would be like to be a member that had this level of disruption, and more importantly, was never effectively communicated about that level of disruption. With Active Analytics, making all of that insight and transparency possible and providing the communication strategies, we're ensuring that members get contacted, but are getting contact about it what really matters. I think that's really going to cut confusion, it's going to build trust, and it's making sure that they're not getting overwhelmed by very generic messages, but they're getting very targeted communications about meaningful updates, such as their plan quite literally going away, or their costs being incredibly increased, or a drug that they really rely on going off a formulary. Having this sort of insight in the hands of the folks who have built trust with their members, the folks who own those relationships, it really makes sure that that communication is meaningful and makes sure that member experience and retention stays high as it can be, because they're made aware of these changes when it matters most.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important for an agent to take care of their membership and make sure that they're informed just as much as the agent is themselves on how much their plans are going to be adjusting for next year. So that's some really great overviews. Is there a way that you can walk us through the agent view on what a user might actually see?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So upon logging into Active Analytics, there's a few things that folks are going to see. The first thing is they're going to see some basic information about their book of business overall, essentially the members that are available in the analysis that we provided. The very next thing that they're going to see are the audiences that they have access to. And like I said earlier, an audience is a group of individuals that have a certain level of disruption. So what we're seeing on screen here is just an example of a specific agent. Let's say this agent has 491 members. We know that a lot of agents have more, some agents may have less. But what this is really doing is categorizing those individuals who have different levels of impact. So for example, 42 individuals may have drugs in their cabinet that, based on how a formulary is changing from year to year, might have one of those drugs that will not be covered by their current plan. Active Analytics is able to identify that at scale and put those people in a specific group and really raise up that level of transparency for the user. The audiences that are available are sort of made the moment that the data is available to be consumed and displayed for a consumer. So what you see here are just a couple examples of what those audiences might be.
Can you dig into one of those examples, like drug coverage?
Absolutely. I always like to say that the data itself is only as valuable as what you're able to do with it. So each audience can be clicked into, and what you're going to see next is essentially the action plan for any of those given members. So you're going to see a plain text description that goes more into depth on what this group of people is. You're going to see insight guidance, which more or less provides a step-by-step guide of how you can effectively engage those members. And then you're going to see filters, ways to drill in and dive into that data more intently to make sure that if you want to focus on folks in a specific geographic area or across different plan types, across different carriers, that you have really full control to filter this data however you need to.
So then what happens after you identify the issue? What are the next steps?
Yeah, I think the immediate next step for a lot of folks is going to be making the member aware. And so what we've done is per audience, we're putting in a pre-written suggested message that is tailored to each of those audiences. This is for users of Active Analytics to know that they not just have the data of who is affected, but they have a really clear, and here's the most important part, compliance approved way to engage those members. They can use these as emails, they can use these as call scripts, they can use these as templates for how to have a face-to-face meeting. But in terms of scalability with this, all of this information can plug directly into a CRM. And yes, it does integrate smoothly with existing communications platforms that organizations may already have put a lot of time and resources into. So the information that's being seen within Active Analytics, both the data and the recommended communications, don't have to live on an island, can make the tools that organizations already have in place that much more valuable.
So that all sounds incredibly powerful for an agent and being able to navigate their current book of business and find those specific audiences to reach out to. But how does this exactly work for, executives or agency owners managing thousands of their members?
Absolutely. Well, we all know that agents are incredibly intentional about how they engage with their members. We think the same level of intention is felt at the manager or the executive level as well. And the tools that are provided within Active Analytics just gives that broad perspective on how they can quickly look at their entire book of business, see systemic risks, and adjust their strategy accordingly, whether that's strategy on how they engage their members, on the messaging to use, or how they best serve them, knowing that large amounts of their membership may be experiencing an outsized level of impact in one area, but it might be lighter in others. So it's really operational insight that was almost, quite literally, almost impossible to get before AEP, before Active Analytics became available.
Yeah. And so the agent could obviously use this at a micro level, and then at a macro level, you have the agency owners that can see their full book of business. Is there anyone else in the organization that has access?
Yeah, absolutely. So roles within Active Analytics come in 3 levels. So we have the agent level, which is permissioned down to the exact book of business members for an individual agent. We've talked a little bit about the executive view, where they can have visibility across their entire organization, but we also have a happy middle, which we call manager level permissions. These are individuals who may be downline agency owners, they may be managers over a specific territory or region, but they have the ability to see insights and member audiences across all of the agents that they manage. So they might not be at the executive level of having thousands of agents or needing to see an entire book of business, but they may have a team of 5 or a team of 10 or a team of 20. We give that level of permission as well to let those teams focus, delegate, and really direct their outreach effectively.
I love that scalability. It really just helps out the entire ecosystem of the agents and the hierarchies, and working with the top of hierarchies to get all that information out to the individual members too. So that's awesome. So as you know, Aaron, there's a lot of news lately regarding health plans, and I've heard probably from at least 5 of them that are no longer going to be paying commissions on some of their plans. Is there a way that Active Analytics is going to be able to help agents in this type of situation to make sure that their business is thriving with all of these changes?
Josh, I'm really glad you asked, because this is the exact sort of scenario that Active Analytics is perfectly designed to address. And you're absolutely right that commissions is having a lot of high attention, and it might not be too much to say, creating a little bit of panic among agents right now that are wanting to know how many members are being affected, essentially members that are in these plans that have gone non-commissionable. One thing that Active Analytics, the underlying data model, has become really good at is setting rules around groups of people that are going to share a level of impact. And in this case, that level of impact would be that they currently are in a plan that has reported to the market that they will no longer be paying commissions. So Active Analytics is one of the audiences we're going to be making available this year, are categorizing all of those members that are in a plan that has gone non-commissionable. And the great thing about it is the more we learn of carriers that decide to make that decision, we can flag all of those new members of who falls into that bucket. I mean, you think about the power that that's going to give an agent to not have to dig through massive spreadsheets, not have to have this pressure of getting, constantly refreshing their screen for new articles about plans going non-commissionable. Instead, they're going to be able to rely on Active Analytics to tell them exactly which of their members are in those plans, and then make their planning and their strategy according to that. There might still be cases where some of those plans or carriers are still a good fit, but there might be impetus there for agents to make the decision to help that member explore other options. The main purpose of Active Analytics is to raise up that level of transparency and provide a clear action plan for how to engage folks, commissions included.
Yeah, I think that's one of the probably the coolest thing about Active Analytics is not just how powerful that it is, but like how nimble that we can make it be. With things that pop up, like no longer being commissionable, we're able to take those new instances of something detrimental in the industry and creating a new audience basically on the fly for any of our customers so that they can see that coming or be prepared when those changes occur. I think that's awesome. Um,
Absolutely.
and then from my understanding, we've already got some examples of success stories already, though, right?
You're absolutely right about that. So we knew that Active Analytics was big enough of an opportunity to not develop it in a vacuum. And so last year, up to AEP, we actually ran a pilot program to make sure that our assumptions that we could generate this level of data and have it be as valuable as we know it can be, to put that to the test. So we ran this with a couple of initial partners last year. And one of our partners, Chris Hagerstrom from Jack Schroeder and Associates, or JSA, I think said it best after all the dust had settled from AEP, which was, he said, and I quote, "It was like having a cheat code for AEP." He said that a few times, and I love that. They were able to see record growth because their agents were more confident, more efficient, more productive, and focused on the right members at the right time. Having Active Analytics in their corner gave them the clear roadmap of where these high level of impact, or where these high levels of impact were going to be, allowed them to focus on those early and free up so much additional time for new business, for retention activities, for further relationships. I think it was a really phenomenal way to really ingrain the fact that Active Analytics was going to be a powerful tool for not just a small group, but for a large group of partners coming up this year. And I would encourage anyone to go to the Active Analytics page on our website and review that experience that JSA had with Active Analytics. You can read those testimonials, you can see a firsthand video of Chris. I think that folks who are even the slightest bit interested in Active Analytics will find what he has to say really impactful.
That's awesome. I'm so excited that this is coming out, that we're going to be a part of it and going to be saving so much time and effort this AEP. So dear listener, if you want to reduce the chaos, retain more members, and empower your team with real-time intelligence,
then Active Analytics truly is your competitive edge. I'd encourage you to reach out to us at marketing@connecture.com after this session to schedule a demo or to get involved with Active Analytics for AEP this year.
Thanks so much for joining us. Let's turn the insight into action this AEP. Thanks so much.